Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. I will tell you, I have more pep in my step today entering the show than I have probably since Regional Friday, quite honestly. Maybe, yeah, they had a Monday game, so the Monday of the Regional back in June, I was fired up. I'm not that fired up today, but I am fired up. I'm more fired up than I was at any point in July. Because I went out to practice today, was able to actually take in some things. I can relay some information to you, and we can really talk about this LSU football team in earnest as opposed to picking apart preview magazines and watch lists and all those things that we'll continue to do throughout August for sure. But the Tigers are actually on the field, and now it feels like it's real, and it feels like the dearth of summer is gone. There are plenty of you who are still on summer vacation or not back in the swing of things like it's fall, and that's fine. You've got a few more weeks to get your affairs in order, but football will not wait for you. It is here. There will be a Hall of Fame game tonight. I probably won't watch it, but LSU is on the practice field, and I've got plenty of things that I took in today on the Ponderosa. Matt was out there. He'll have more in-depth on the offense on his show. I took some of his notes. We chatted a little bit after practice, but he took in a lot of offense. I took in a lot of defense. We'll probably switch that up over the next couple of days so that we can both kind of get a good feel for what things are happening on both sides of the ball. Brian Kelly did meet with the media, so I can add a little bit of color to what I saw out there. But it was warm, and it started off not so great. Not from LSU's football perspective, but from a media perspective. They had a new place for us to watch practice from, which was up on the patio of the new Players Lounge. And it was shaded, which was really nice. And it was elevated, which could be good to see a little bit more. But there was a huge tent in the way where the players cool off. And there wasn't a lot of room. And I was looking at this going, this is going to be really bad. And for some reason, we were told to go up there, and then 5 minutes into practice, somebody walked up and said, y'all get off this patio. You're not supposed to be here. So we went back down on the field where we've always been, and it was back to normal. And it was about 10, 15 degrees warmer where we were standing, but we could see a little bit more because there wasn't a huge tent obstructing the view. So I assume we'll be down there for the rest of media availability for camp. Let's talk about some big picture things before I get into some individual things that I saw. Javian Toviano was at practice today. I was standing next to the defensive backs, and I saw 25, and I checked my roster sheet, and I saw two 25s, Javian Toviano and Trey Holly. Well, I was 100% sure it was not Trey Holly because Trey Holly doesn't have that build. Trey Holly's short and stout. This was a long, lean defensive back. And I'm going, is Toviano out here? And I tapped Sonny Shipp on the shoulder, and I pointed, and I said, that's not some walk-on. Like, is that him? And Sonny was like, I think so. And it was, because Brian Kelly said after practice today that Javier Toviano has been cleared and he's going to go through workouts with the team. Now, I saw the first team defense out there. I saw the second team defense out there. I saw the team going through individual drills. Javier Toviano did not do very much. He was kind of off to the side for the majority of what they did. Now, he was going station to station and had all his gear on, and like, he's out there, but he wasn't fully participating at this point, and I think that's to be expected. But he was out there, which is encouraging from a football perspective. We'll see what happens in a court of law. From a football perspective, he's out there. Zy Alexander was also out there. That was what I told you would be kind of the first thing I checked on when I got out to camp. And he was out there. But he had a huge brace on his knee. Big brace. This was not like a sleeve. He had a brace on his knee. And he was not going through the drills. We saw the defense go very, very light 11 on 11. We saw the defense play some 7 on 7. We saw the defense do some individual things. We saw the defense do any number of, for today, contact, and for, the purposes of the drills, not contact. And Zy Alexander didn't do much of any of it. So the notion that Zy Alexander is a full go for camp is wrong. He's not a full go for camp. This is a guy who tore his ACL in the Army game last year and is not ready to go. Now, we still have a month before they play in Vegas. And last year, I told you yesterday that I was going to check on Zy Alexander's health, and I was kind of comparing him to Armani Goodwin last year, the running back who was dealing with knee injuries. And Armani Goodwin was doing the drills. He just had a really, really noticeable limp. I did not see a noticeable limp on Zy Alexander moving place to place. He just wasn't really doing the drills. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not an orthopedic. Like, I don't know where he is in the progression. I just know that he's not ready to go right now. And that's a bummer for LSU. And that kind of brings me into the depth chart, which is where I'll start today on the defensive side. I can give you basically the ones and twos from what we saw. There was a little bit of rotation, but in essence, you saw the ones and the twos. Now, keep in mind, this could mean these are the guys that are going to play against USC. And it could mean these are the guys who know where to go on the first day of camp and can set the example. I'm not going to read too much into it. I'll just tell you what we saw. On the defensive line for the first team, you saw Savion Jones and Deshaun Womack on the ends. You saw Gio Paez and Jacobian Guillory at tackle. I told you yesterday one of the things I was curious about, who is going to be next to Jacobian Guillory at defensive tackle. You've got a number of options, and all of them come with question marks. Gio Paez has played end and not very much at Wisconsin. JVR Suggs has played tackle at Division II. Dominic McKinley is a freshman. Sean Washington is a junior college player. Jalen Lee is a career reserve. Like, there are questions among every single defensive tackle you can bring up. Even Guillory, but he's going to be a starter. I kind of thought Paez would be the first guy out there. He was. Now, he's bulked up. I've got him now. He is listed at, let's see if I can find him quickly. I can. 6'3", 305. He's bigger than he was last year playing defensive end mostly for Wisconsin. And he knew, he came on after further review when he transferred and said, look, I'm going to play inside when I get to Baton Rouge. And he was out there. Those were the first two defensive tackles. Braden Swinson was not at practice today. So no Braden Swinson on the edge of this defense. The linebackers were Greg Penn and Harold Perkins. Those were your two linebackers with the first team. And Major Burns was on their level. We understand that Major Burns is going to play that star position. And when you saw the defense kind of set up in its full unit, he was playing on the same level as the linebackers, and a lot of it was moving downhill. He covered some running backs in the flat, covered some tight ends in the flat, went downhill, and played some in the screen game. That's kind of Major Burns' role. When you look at the corners, you had Ashton Stamps, which I expected. You realize that you don't have Toviano and you do not have Zy Alexander. Sage Ryan was the other corner on the first team. Now, Brian Kelly addressed that today at his press conference and said Sage is going to cross-train. And they have a lot of options at corner. I have said this a lot over my previewing the team during the summer months. Like, I don't know if they have anybody that's a first-team All-League player, but they got a lot of dudes. And they've got P.J. Woodland, and they got J.K. Johnson, and Jair Brown, and Juwan Johnson, and Zy Alexander, and Javian Toviano, and Sage. Like, they got a lot of dudes. Sage Ryan was with the first team at corner. I do not believe that suggests that Sage Ryan is your day one cornerback. I do suggest that he's in a better position mentally to know where to play with Zy Alexander and Javian Toviano out of the lineup. So that's where he was. He was playing at the cornerback spot. The safeties, Jordan Gilbert was out there and Jordan Allen was out there. I also saw a couple of reps where Juwan Johnson played safety with the first team, but mainly Jordan Gilbert and Jordan Allen. So your first team defense today, Savion Jones, Gio Paez, Jacobian Guillory, and Deshaun Womack, Greg Penn and Harold Perkins. Then you had Major Burns, Sage Ryan, Ashton Stamps, Jordan Gilbert, and Jordan Allen. That's kind of your first group. The second group, when they went out there, Paris Shand and Gabe Relaford were on the ends. I have more to talk about with Gabe Relaford later on in the show. They did some one-on-one pass rush drills, and Relaford really shined in that portion of practice. But Paris Shand and Gabe Relaford were on the ends. At defensive tackle with the twos was Kimo Makaniole and Sean Washington. Those two guys were running with the twos. The linebackers were West Weeks and Whit Weeks. Kalaj Cobbins also played some linebacker with that group. Kalaj Cobbins really looks the part, and I think has a good camp in front of him. That meant that at the corner you had J.K. Johnson and P.J. Woodland. You also saw Juwan Johnson out there a little bit, and the safeties were Kylan Jackson and Deshaun Spears. Very impressed with Deshaun Spears physically. That's if you're going, who the hell is Deshaun Spears? Deshaun Spears changed his name in the offseason, and now I'm blanking on what it was. It was Deshaun right here, and it just didn't come to me. But he's Deshaun McBride. There it is. Deshaun McBride was his name entering when he was signed. Now Deshaun Spears, very impressive physically. So
again, that is not set in stone. That is written in sand as far as the depth chart goes. But the big stories, I think, that you can actually take something from today, Javian Toviano with the team. That surprised me. Zy Alexander, brace on the knee, not ready to go. And Braden Swinson not with the team today. That was too strongly worded. He wasn't at practice today. Summer school's still going on. Injuries can happen. Stomach bug can happen. Any number of things can happen with Braden Swinson. I did not hear Brian Kelly say anything about that today. If I find out, via Twitter or whatever the case may be, why Swinson was not there today, I'll pass that along. I left after practice to go take a shower and come do the show. Matt was there for BK's press conference, and he will have all of Brian Kelly's sound at his disposal for AFR coming up in an hour and 50 minutes.
Thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.